Welcome back to the Retire as You Desire show. Today we have a special one for you. Have you ever dreamed of living outside of the United States in retirement? In today's episode, I'm going to break down 4 different areas that you want to focus on if this is one of your dreams. And living outside of the United States is completely doable. We've had some clients try this for a while. They had a great time, so I'll give you some insight to that as well. But this really comes down to income in retirement. Have you saved enough money? Did you not save enough? This may depict where you want to live in retirement, but also your lifestyle is a big part of that as well. And in today's episode, let's talk about a couple things. How do you want to live in your retirement years? Is this something that has always been a dream for you to go abroad? But how can you do that with ease? We're going to talk about that today. Another thing we're going to discuss is how to plan on receiving income in retirement while living outside of the United States of America. This is an important one. How do you get money into your bank accounts while living abroad? How does that actually work? We're going to talk about that today. And then lastly, this is an important one. We want to know some of the best places to live and retire outside of the United States of America. So when you go to retire here in America, you generally receive a Social Security income. And if you live abroad, I always get asked this question. Can I still get my Social Security if I live overseas for a year or 2 or the rest of my life? And there's some really important considerations that you want to be aware of and specific rules as well. So let's just really dive into this. First and foremost, there's some eligibility and requirements that we need to be very clear on. So if you're a US citizen, you can receive your Social Security payments in most countries. So not everyone, so this is research that you have to do before you move. But some of the exceptions are to check with the Social Security Administration. So that's literally picking up the phone and calling them to see which countries are restricted. We may have some diplomatic issues. You may want to move out of the country because you don't agree with our government or political situation. It's great, it's your choice. But you want to be sure that your Social Security income is accepted where you move to. And then also payment methods. Typically, your Social Security income gets direct deposited into a US bank account or into an account in many foreign countries, and this is why you want to check. But if you're a non-US citizen, this is important too, because I've known people who were not US citizens, but they were in the Social Security system. The rules could be more complex. The eligibility is going to depend on the country of your citizenship and whether the US has a Social Security agreement with that country. So these are restrictions and exceptions that you want to understand before you make the plunge and move outside of the United States. So countries with restrictions. Certain countries such as Cuba and North Korea, I'm sure you could figure out why, are exempt from receiving Social Security income. But also, you want to contact the SSA, the Social Security Administration, for information if you're considering moving out of the US, but especially for major countries like South America or Europe. These are hotspots, and we're going to talk about that in the 4th segment. But you don't want to have your Social Security payment suspended. This is a big deal because this is the foundation of income in retirement. So if you're out of the US for more than 6 months, and if you reside in a country where the Social Security Administration cannot send payments, this may be a problem. This could be a red flag. So be careful. And then you also have your reporting obligations. This is an important one too. The Social Security Administration may require you to complete an annual report to confirm your continued eligibility for your benefits while living abroad. So it just depends on how long you're abroad, where you're living, and then what's your actual address. This is one thing that people forget. You must inform the Social Security Administration of any changes to your address or banking information. So if you set up your primary bank account in a foreign country, you're gonna wanna tell the SSA. Also, if your address changed, you're gonna wanna report that as well, because that's gonna be correlated to your tax responsibility. And your Social Security benefits may be subject to US taxes even if you live abroad. It's a whole nother complicated subject. Happy to speak with you about that if you have questions. But some countries may tax your Social Security benefits, so it's really important to understand all of the tax implications in the country of your residence. Inside of our entitlement benefit programs inside the United States, you have Social Security and then Medicare. Medicare is a whole nother area where we want to know if you're going to be provided benefits. And typically, Medicare does not provide coverage outside the US. Big one to know, Medicare does not provide coverage outside the US in most cases. If you plan to live abroad, you may want to consider alternative health insurance options. But if you're moving to countries where the costs are super low, you may be able to just pay out of pocket. Good thing to understand. Now, there's a totalization agreement that the United States has with several countries to coordinate your Social Security benefits and taxes for people who have both worked and lived in the US and other countries. So a lot of the times there's agreements in place that could help you throughout this process. And this could also help you avoid dual taxation. Why would you want to pay taxes twice if you can avoid it? The name of the game in retirement is to keep the most amount of money in your pockets and your investments for the long haul. That's the name of the game. So here's some really simple and easy steps to take if you're considering moving outside of the US for retirement. So before you move, contact the Social Security Administration to inform them of your plans and understand how your benefits may or may not be affected. Very important thing to do. Now, this is something that I personally believe everyone should do, is go to the Social Security Administration website and sign up for your account. It takes 5 minutes. They ask you some questions about who was your mortgage in 1987, what street did you live on in this year, but set up your Social Security account, because this is going to help you include setting up payments if you're going to be living abroad. And there's a screening tool there to help you determine if you could receive benefits in the chosen country that you want to live in. This is a good one too. If your financial advisor is not up to snuff on these things, please reach out to us. We would love to have a consulting opportunity with you, just to chat with you to help you navigate these different complexities from receiving Social Security or income in retirement while abroad. Because if you're going to live somewhere, don't you want to receive income? Don't you want to still have fun and explore and travel? There's some great ways to plan for this in retirement. In general, Social Security benefits abroad, it's really crucial to be aware of the specific rules and requirements and any tax implications. If we don't plan for that up front, it could be really, really difficult to have a strong foothold for your other investments as well. Because the way that we would like to set things up are Social Security for one portion of your income every single month, and then you receive income from other investments as well. So that way you have different paychecks coming in at different times of the month, like we set up our retirement income plans for our clients. That way you don't have to relearn how money's coming into your household every single month in retirement. The biggest aspect of Social Security and income in retirement is know the potential tax implications. Try and avoid at all costs to be double taxed because, again, we want to keep as much money in our pockets as possible. But also, some countries may not allow you to receive your Social Security income, but on the Social Security website, it's going to show you different countries that they have tax agreements with to help you retire as you desire and live in the place that you've probably dreamed of for many, many years and have planned for. These are just the little steps that you want to take into consideration before you make such a big, crucial move, especially from an address change standpoint and a bank account standpoint. The IRS and the Social Security Administration are going to want to know these things because there's probably some tax implications to some of your investments. But you're probably thinking, yes, I could figure out the taxes, I could figure out my Social Security. How do I plan for health insurance? What if I get sick? What happens? What do I do? Stay tuned for the next section because that's exactly what we're going to be discussing. Health insurance outside of the US in retirement. Tune in to the Retire As You Desire show every Friday night, 6 p.m. Central for great information just like this. In this segment, if you want to live abroad, get out of the United States for your retirement years, your golden years, what do you do for health insurance? Have you ever thought about that? I could almost promise you that's one of the first things that come into people's minds is, how do I get health insurance if I retire outside of the United States? Welcome back to the Retire As You Desire show. Today's episode is all about living abroad in retirement. In the last segment, we talked about Social Security. What happens from a taxation standpoint? Do all countries accept Social Security? Could you be doubly taxed? The answer is yes. One of the things to avoid. But in this segment, if you want to live abroad, get out of the United States for your retirement years, your golden years, what do you do for health insurance? Have you ever thought about that? I could almost promise you that's one of the first things that come into people's minds is, how do I get health insurance if I retire outside of the United States? So when you turn 65 in America, you primarily receive your Medicare and your Medicare supplements if you need that as well, if your company doesn't provide that for you. So if you need to obtain health insurance, your Medicare is most likely not going to be an option when you retire outside of the United States. This is a great thing to know because it helps you plan. But planning for health insurance, it really revolves around a lot of steps. And these several steps and considerations are here to help you ensure that you have adequate coverage. Nothing's ever perfect, but you need to take your time here. So let's talk about some key options and strategies for getting health insurance abroad while in your retirement years. Now, when my wife and I were down in Argentina, because that's where she's from, it's a beautiful place. I would love to spend time there in retirement. But I got sick one time and I had to go to the doctor and they did all these tests. Again, completely different than the United States. My total cost, I remember this vividly, was $67 to have all the tests ran, get my medication. I just had a bad cold. That's what it turned out to be, but they did a chest x-ray to make sure I didn't have pneumonia. $67. In America, it would cost a heck of a lot more than that potentially if you have health insurance or if you don't. So retiring outside of the US may be a big benefit for you if you haven't saved enough money in retirement. But this all requires careful planning. It really requires careful planning. Because Medicare, as we had mentioned before, typically does not cover medical expenses incurred abroad. And that's a problem because you've paid into Medicare for, 30 or 40 years of your working life. But here's some great strategies and options for ways to obtain health insurance when you retire abroad. There is a way to get international health insurance. There are international health insurance plans that provide coverage worldwide, and it gives you access to multiple healthcare services in different countries. Some of them overlap into different countries, different regions, but there's also providers like Cigna Global, Aetna International, Allianz Worldwide Care, and IMG that offer plans specifically designed for retirees who want to live abroad, who basically become expatriates. Now, I don't offer them directly. We don't do health insurance at the Retire As You Desire with Bloom Financial Company, but there are ways to do this, and we want to provide great information to help you throughout your retirement years. Now, here's a fun part. Some of these plans are actually customizable. You can choose between different options. So they can include various levels of coverage, such as inpatient and outpatient care. It depends on your medical history, which is a big factor as well. Emergency services and prescription drugs. But you don't want to exclude your vision and dental. These two things get overlooked, but keep that in the back of your mind. Now, there's also local health insurance depending on the country that you live in. Many countries have private health insurance providers that offer plans to residents, including expatriates, and that's basically what you would become if you move outside of the United States. But understanding the local systems, a lot of this can be done by doing Google searches and looking these things up. And local plans are usually tailored to the healthcare system in that country, and they can be made more affordable. So if you have less of a medical history, you may not need all the bells and whistles. But if you do have a medical history, you want to research the specific healthcare system and insurance providers in your destination country to find something that's suitable for you, because you don't want to be stuck abroad, have no health insurance, or have a health plan. That could be catastrophic from a financial perspective and a health perspective. Now, some countries with national healthcare systems like Canada, they allow residents, including expatriates, to access public healthcare services either for free or at a reduced cost. This is a huge benefit, especially if you want to retire outside of the United States. Now, there's going to be different eligibility requirements for public healthcare systems, so this is something you definitely want to know before you move. And this may really depend on your residency status, your length of stay, and different visa requirements. Some countries may require you to contribute to the system through taxes or premiums, but if you're going to have health insurance, paying premiums may not be the end of the world. Paying taxes, though, this is where you need to understand your taxation on your Social Security and your investments. That's something we help plan with. Also, there may be short-term health insurance coverage. So some travel health insurance is a good option for short-term stays. So for instance, if you want to move to a country for 6 months and try it out before you actually make the bold move to do that, you may want to get short-term medical insurance. This could cover emergencies, accidents, and your routine care. You may get sick while you're there. That may happen. But the short-term insurance may be a good plan if you're testing out moving somewhere. Long-term residency insurance is designed for temporary stays, but it may not cover pre-existing conditions or ongoing medical treatments. This is a red flag. Understanding what's covered, what's not, depending on your pre-existing medical history, is important. Now, this is a good one too. Emergency evacuation. Some medical evacuation insurance covers the cost of emergency transportation to a healthcare facility in another country, or maybe even back to the United States. This is something that I've heard about people overlooking. And if you've had doctors all of your life living in America who have treated your heart or your cancer symptoms, you may want to include this in your insurance. So that way, if something major happens, you can come home on someone else's dime and it doesn't cost you a fortune. And then just like a Medicare supplement, there may be supplemental insurance with conjunction with other health insurance plans to give you a comprehensive medical plan outside of the United States, because maintaining US coverage is very difficult, if not available. So I've known some retirees to keep their Medicare coverage while they visit outside of the US for 3 months, 6 months, and especially their supplements. They paired this with their supplemental travel health insurance plan because it provided them with coverage for emergencies abroad. And that was their big worry. God forbid if something happens, how do we try and avoid any major financial disasters from that standpoint? So Medicare Advantage plans. This is something I definitely want to talk to you about. Certain Medicare Advantage plans offer limited emergency coverage outside of the US, but these are not a substitute for comprehensive health insurance abroad. So that's another thing to be very careful about. So you want to research where you're moving to. Do they offer healthcare coverage throughout the whole entire country? Do they have a universal healthcare system? And does it actually work for expatriates? It may or may not. But if you need a private option, how much does that actually cost? What does that investment look like? Because these policies, they may be expensive, they may not be. I think it all comes down to which country you want to live in. But these healthcare policies that are specifically designed for expatriates are a great place to start. You want to compare these plans. It's almost like buying your home and auto insurance. But this is so important because we're dealing with our health. We want to compare different international health insurance plans with their local insurance options that are available to find the best coverage for you and what's going to suit your needs in the most efficient way possible. Pay attention to copays, what are the total out-of-pocket costs, and what does this look like? Where can I get coverage? Does it include or exclude hospital services and emergency care? At the Retire As You Desire show, we're here to give you all of this information because we want to help people make educated decisions for their future. The Retire As You Desire lifestyle is all about living the life where you want, how you want, with who you want. And living abroad may be part of your plan. So I really hope this information is giving you a ton of value. And please tune in every Friday night, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, same station, to watch this show to get great information about the Retire As You Desire lifestyle. And one of the big topics is, am I going to be taxed on my investments in retirement if I live in a country outside of the great United States of America? So that's what we're going to talk about in this segment. Now, so many factors to consider here, a ton of them. One of the biggest factors to consider is the country of your citizenship. If you receive a pension in another country, both in the US and the country of your residence, it may be taxed, and this may be a problem. Welcome back to the Retire As You Desire show. Have you ever worried about being taxed on your income in retirement? But what about if you lived abroad? Have you ever thought about moving to this exotic country, moving to a new place, starting a new life? I know people who have done this, and I know people who are planning on doing this. So I thought about creating a great show today to give you some of the ins and outs as to what it takes to move abroad. And one of the big topics is, am I going to be taxed on my investments in retirement if I live in a country outside of the great United States of America? So that's what we're going to talk about in this segment. Now, so many factors to consider here, a ton of them. One of the biggest factors to consider is the country of your citizenship, the type of retirement income, and the tax laws of that country where you reside outside of the United States. Just like your Social Security income, there may be tax treaties in place between the countries that you want to retire in and the United States. But let's talk about some key points to consider before you make the big move, and these are very important. So some people think if I move outside of the United States, I'm not going to have to pay taxes anymore in the US. It's probably not true. If you're a US citizen and resident, and if you have worldwide income, the United States taxes your worldwide income, regardless of where you live. And yes, that's a big bummer. This isn't a way to potentially get out of paying your taxes or your tax bill. This means that you're gonna need to report all of your income, including retirement income, from foreign sources on your US tax return. So if you're living abroad, even if you start a company there, you're gonna need to report that on your US tax return. Now, sometimes you can get what's called a foreign tax credit. This is a great thing for you because you may be eligible for this tax credit to help offset some of your US taxes. This could be a deduction to help you mitigate double taxation if you pay taxes on the same income in another country. So working with a financial advisor who understands this is critical, super critical. Now, most people think I don't need to file taxes if I live outside of the United States, and I'm gonna say you're probably incorrect on that. You're gonna wanna file your annual tax return with the IRS, even if you're living outside the United States. And if your foreign financial accounts exceed certain thresholds, you may also need to file an FBAR. Now, this is called a foreign bank account report, so that it shows your tax obligations in other countries because the US wants to know these things. Now, there's gonna be different taxation in different countries wherever you move to. There may be local tax laws. The country where you reside may also have tax on your retirement income. And this is a problem. We don't want double taxation. And the specific rules, they vary widely between each country. So it's super essential for you to work with your tax professional and your financial advisor to understand these laws before you move. Now, if you have a pension, and we already talked about your Social Security, some of these countries do tax pensions. And you're probably thinking, why do they have access to my money and taxing my money if I didn't live there and make the money there? Well, it's just part of their agreements with the US. There may be tax treaties, and this may be a big decision as to where you retire as you desire in retirement. Now, the US does have tax treaties with a lot of countries because we have great diplomatic relationships with a lot of them. These treaties can help, hopefully, affect how your retirement income is taxed and may provide you with some exemptions or reduced tax rates in other countries. Here's some provisions. Tax treaties often have specific provisions related to pension and Social Security and other types of retirement income, and it's really important to consult the specific treaty between the US and your country of residence, the one that you want to move to. And then there's types of retirement income. You have your Social Security benefits, which is taxed by the US if you hit certain taxation limits. The Social Security benefits are generally taxable by the United States, but the tax treatment of the country of your choice is going to depend on the local laws and any applicable tax treaties. Foreign taxes are a bummer if you're going to be definitely double taxed. Some countries may not tax your Social Security because of their relationships with the US, but you're going to be living there and you may be part of a universal tax plan. Some of your taxes may pay for your health insurance, and that's why there may be taxation in certain countries. Now, foreign pensions. If you receive a pension in another country, both in the US and the country of your residence, it may be taxed, and this may be a problem because they may be taking a lot of money out of your monthly paychecks, and that's part of your foundation in retirement income planning. If there is a foreign tax credit, this could be huge to help avoid double taxation. Now, as I'm sure you're aware of this, every country has different laws, different regulations, but from your investment standpoint, if you are withdrawing money from an IRA or a 401k, understanding this from a practical step standpoint is so critical. Work with a tax professional, work with a financial advisor who is educated on these areas. There are probably specific tax advisors who work with expatriate tax issues. They could be a huge benefit just to do a consultation meeting and pay for their time to understand what's available to you before you retire as you desire outside of the US. This way you could look to minimize tax obligations and help your tax situation and understand these different tax treaties that are there throughout the world. And all of the relevant tax treaties are very important to understand and how it really works with the IRS and other countries. This tax advisor could potentially provide a ton of guidance for you and show you how to keep as much money in your pocket as possible. There are some other things that you want to keep really detailed records of, and this comes down to your records of income. Where are you receiving money and income in retirement? Where did you pay these taxes? You're going to want to keep a file of all relevant financial documents to give accurate reporting and stay in compliance with both the US and any foreign tax laws. So keeping accurate documents is crucial. Your financial advisor and your tax team could help you with this. And this is another great reason to work with someone who is up to date on the tax law changes. If you're living abroad and if the US tax laws change, it may have a huge impact on your future dollars that are available to you in retirement. Because in theory, if the tax rates go up here in the United States, while you're living abroad, you may not be aware of this. And a quick fact for you all, in 2026, it is likely that we may have a new tax code here in the US because they're set to expire in 2025. So if you're able to utilize the tax code in the US and you don't have double taxation in a foreign country, the country that you want to retire in, this could really help you reduce your overall tax burden and potentially keep more money in your pocket, which is really the name of the game in retirement. So here's some great action steps to do step 1 through step 3 before you make the move to live somewhere else in retirement. Number 1, get your team together. Work with a financial advisor, work with a tax professional if you don't love doing this stuff yourself. If you're one of the people who are watching this show who are a do-it-yourselfer, as our industry says, that's amazing. You've probably done a great job over the years of saving, putting money away, and planning. You love doing the research. God bless you. It's amazing. Most people don't love doing that homework. So find the right tax professional from a tax standpoint and the right financial advisor who can help you get you over that finish line. But also, step 2, really narrowing down what your tax burdens could be if you move abroad. If you do make this step, understand what the time frames are. So when do those taxes actually kick in the next country? And put a plan together, some different scenarios for income in retirement that show your taxation. That's important. And then step 3 is go enjoy your life. If you want to move abroad, go do that. But take the steps from this episode, from Social Security, your health insurance, your taxation, and then the next segment about countries to live in. These are all really important steps, but don't forget to go live and enjoy your life. That's what the Retire as You Desire lifestyle is all about. So tune in to the next segment. We're going to discuss some really fun countries to potentially move to that have great tax visas and investment visas that are available to you in today's market. Here we go. Let's get into some of these really incredible places to move abroad and retire abroad that potentially could give you affordable housing and also give you an investment visa where you could actually become a resident of that country. Now, there are several options around the world that cater to different countries and budgets. And really, this is a big one, your preferences, the things that you want to do with your time. Thank you for watching the Retire as You Desire show. Today's episode has been all about moving outside of the US, living that life of your dreams in really incredible places. But there are things that you need to understand before you make the plunge to live outside of the United States in retirement. Social Security taxation, your investment taxation, your health insurance. These are all things to take into consideration before you move. Getting your team together is one of the most important things as well. Tax accountant, financial advisor to help you through this process. But I saved the best for last with this episode. You want to know how are you going to benefit as to the new place that you're going to move to. So I did some research to find some great ideas on new countries to potentially move to, where you could, again, potentially get an investment visa to give you residency. And this may help with your taxation, your health care, all these things that we talked about throughout the episode. So here we go. Let's get into some of these really incredible places to move abroad and retire abroad that potentially could give you affordable housing and also give you an investment visa where you could actually become a resident of that country. Now, there are several options around the world that cater to different countries and budgets. And really, this is a big one, your preferences, the things that you want to do with your time. Now, here are some of the least expensive countries to live in that also provide for an investment visa opportunity. So this is perfect for people who live on a budget. They may have not saved enough in retirement, but also they want to have their health insurance in place and they want to have different varieties of life. So let's get into some of these opportunities. Portugal. Portugal is a beautiful country. This is on our bucket list for my wife and I. So it's known for its low cost of living compared to other Western European countries. Cities like Lisbon and Porto, they're more expensive, but smaller towns and rural areas, they offer really affordable living. And when I was doing research, now this is as of 2024, you always want to do your homework because these things could change. But right now, they have a golden visa program. And here's what that means. Portugal offers a golden visa program that grants residency to individuals who invest in real estate. So essentially, you're buying a house. This ranges between 280 and 500,000 euros, depending on the location and type. Or if you create jobs or invest in a business or do research, it's really potentially a great place to live. And if you love port wine, hey, you're in the capital of that. And they have such a vibrant seafood and up and coming restaurant scene as well from all the research that I've done. So it also has really efficient ways to travel throughout Europe. So if you always wanted to go to London, you wanted to go to France, you want to go to Paris, Spain, a neighboring country, you're right there. You have a ton of opportunity to travel in a very inexpensive way. We have family who live in Spain and Madrid, and it's really amazing. They tell us we're able to get different plane tickets for less than $100 round trip throughout Europe. So if you want to travel, Portugal may be on your radar. Now, Greece. Greece is one of my favorite countries because they are part of one of the 5 blue zones in the world. That's where people live to 100 or greater with their health. I want to do that. So Greece, they have a very low cost of living, particularly in areas outside of Athens, and there's a ton of popular tourist islands. Those could be great places to live. The cost of housing, food, and service is pretty reasonable compared to America. And they too have a pretty great golden visa program. They provide residency to those who invest at least 250,000 euros in real estate. So it's going to be close to $275,000 or $300,000 in US monies, depending on the exchange rate at the time of watching this. But this is one of the lowest investment thresholds in Europe. And just like Portugal, you're already in Europe. Traveling to other countries, pretty easy, pretty affordable. And I want to really stress this. Living in a blue zone could extend your lifestyle. It could extend your lifespan, which is something I'm very, very into, especially in retirement, because I want people to live as long as they can, have their money last as long as possible, and have their health. That way you get to really squeeze as much juice out of life and retirement as possible. So being in Europe could be a huge benefit, especially if you want to travel. Okay, let's go to our next destination. We're gonna talk about Thailand. This country, my wife and I visited during part of our honeymoon. It was a beautiful place to go to. Thailand is renowned for its low cost of living, very affordable, especially in cities like Chiang Mai and different areas throughout the country. Now, Bangkok is more expensive, but it's still affordable compared to Western cities. I think the theme here is any major city inside these countries is going to be more expensive, but not as expensive as in LA, New York, Chicago. They too have an investment visa. Thailand offers a variety of options, so this gives you flexibility. They have an elite visa, which requires a one-time fee starting at about $16,000 US. And it's $500,000 in their currency, but $16,000 roughly, for a 5-year visa. They also have a smart visa. This is another option for investors in specific industries with minimum investment requirements. So if you want to test the waters and live in a country that tropical, low cost of living, incredible beaches, a great boating scene. If you love being out on the water, Thailand is a great place for that. We've been there and have done it. It's incredible. This could be a great place for you to consider. And then if you just do a $16,000 down payment, basically, roughly, that can give you 5 years to test this and see if you love it. And then just like Portugal and Greece, you're close to Europe. Thailand, you're close to Japan, China, South Korea. You're really in an incredible place to go and travel and visit different countries. So here's another place in a different part of the world, Panama. Panama has been a booming economy for the past 10 years. They also have a low cost of living, and they provide affordable healthcare and a ton of modern amenities. So cities like Panama City are more expensive, but I think that's true for all the scenarios that we have here. But they have a ton more affordable options outside of the city. Now, they have what's called a Friendly Nations visa. Panama's Friendly Nations visa offers residency to citizens from select countries who have an economic or professional tie to Panama. So if you want to start a company there or create one, this may help you get your visa. Also, an investment in real estate of at least $200,000 in US money, or if you deposit this amount into a Panamanian bank, could qualify you for this visa. But you need to check with the United States, the Social Security, and the IRS, because they are probably going to want to know where that money is going. So understand this before you move. And then let's talk about Mexico. Mexico is a big country, so close to the United States. This may be a huge benefit for you, just to be able to get home, see family, shorter flights. This may be a great option for you. Now, Mexico, they have a ton of popular tourist destinations. Let's face it, most people go to Mexico at least once in their life if they're living in the United States. But their food, their services are relatively inexpensive. You can get what's called a temporary resident visa in Mexico, and this offers a temporary residency to those who invest in the country. Now, this requirement includes roughly a $200,000 investment. Now, as you can see here, we've had ranges from roughly 16,000 US all the way up to 500,000 euros. Your budget and your investable dollars are going to play a big role in these decisions, but also a comfort level. Where do you want to live? How close do you want to be to your family? Where do you want to travel? But there are opportunities, and again, you want to check before you do these things for current laws and current diplomatic relationships with these countries. But these could be really great opportunities for you to move abroad, invest in these countries, especially if you're selling your home in America. You use those proceeds to buy a home or a property in these foreign countries, and then you could potentially get residency, and that could help with your health insurance costs. So these are really great ways to plan, and this is what the Retire As You Desire show is all about. Give you great planning ideas, and we're here to help you plan for the retirement of your dreams. Don't be afraid to reach out to us and tune in every Friday night, 6 p.m. Central, for a new show of the Retire As You Desire show.